Good morning, New Skin Singapore and Malaysia leaders. How are you doing this morning? I hope you had a good sleep and get ready to focus in today's session as we have a lot to share with you for today. So once again, welcome to New Skin Digital Product Opportunity Meeting, Decoding the Science of Mental Health. I'm Fion, Product Marketing Manager of Pharmanex at New Skin, Southeast Asia and Pacific, and I'm your host for today. So before I begin, if you have questions during the session later on, please type in the Q&A function of this webinar. Remember to include your name, country of residence, and email address so that we can actually contact and reply to you after the webinar. So we all know that brain is a complex organ that controls our thoughts, emotion, motor skills, memory, and every process that regulates our body. While brain or mental health is crucial as it affects all aspects of our life, such as our cognitive performance, emotional well-being, and overall health and quality of life. And in today's session, you will be equipped with the knowledge of how building a strong foundation of brain and mental health through nutritional supports so that you have ability to focus, memorize, sleep, and manage stress more effectively. And we are very honored to invite the Director of New Skin Global Research and Development, Dr. Shelley Hester, to share with you. So Dr. Shelley joined New Skin as a scientist in year 2013. Over the past 11 years, she has been involved in new product development and research for Pharmanex and Echelon products, such as our beloved product like Echelon Span, Reset, Collagen Plus, and Echelon TRME. So without further ado, let's give our warm welcome to Dr. Shelley. Hello, Dr. Shelley.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
I'm excited to be
Yeah,
here.
we are doing good, I believe. So I shall hand the time over to you to start sharing about how important is our mental health. Over to you,
Okay.
Dr. Shelley.
Hey, well, I am so excited to be here and talk to you about mental health. So this really is a new area that New Skin is going into. And we've been working on this area and the science for years. So we're so excited to finally be able to share it with you and share all the great science that we've been doing over the past few years. And mental health and brain health, it's just so important because it really is who makes us us, and makes each of us unique. And so that's why it really is just so important. And so when we talk about brain health, there's so many different things that we can do to make sure that we have that balanced brain health, that strong foundation, like Fiona mentioned. And some of the most important things are just having regular exercise, eating healthy. Um, but there's other things that we can do as well, such as making sure that you're not drinking too much alcohol, challenging your brain every day. And of course, taking certain dietary ingredients. And we're going to talk about that quite a bit today, how different ingredients can impact these different areas of your brain health. So, as Fiona mentioned, a strong foundation for brain health is extremely important. So, if we think about foundational nutrition, you have your vitamins, your minerals, your omega-3 fatty acids that you get from fish. So, having all those vitamins and minerals from the fruits and the vegetables and the healthy foods that you eat, eating the omega-3 fatty acids is important. But it's also extremely important to have targeted areas of brain health that you're supporting with different ingredients in your diet and just a healthy lifestyle. And these four areas that we'll concentrate on today, and then you'll hear even more about tomorrow, is memory, stress, sleep, and concentration. And this really does build this very important foundation just for overall brain health. And so these are the four areas that we'll focus on today. So let's talk about stress and the science behind it. So, what is stress? So, stress is your body's response to any type of change, and it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be psychological. And statistics show that a very high percentage, about three-quarters of us, have experienced health impacts due to stress in just the past month. And different people handle stress differently. Some people might become tired, some people might have GI issues, some people get headaches, but overall, stress can negatively impact individuals, especially when it's chronic. So, if we think of stress, um, stress is caused by stress hormones in our body, something called cortisol. And acute stress is the sudden, short lived threats. And we need these to function, to survive. So if you're being chased, let's say by a wild animal, you need to have that acute stress reaction so that you can survive. If you have to be in athletic competition, you want to perform at your peak performance. You need that acute stress. However, the problem is when we're having these chronic stress situations, where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you feel emotionally stressed. You may have conflicts at home, you have conflicts at work, you have health challenges. And this is where the ongoing stressful response is negative for our health. And that chronic stress is really what we want to focus on today and talk about how there are different ingredients that can help you combat this chronic stress. And so one of them is called casein hydrolysate. And this is actually a milk protein. So this particular ingredient was discovered because think of a baby, and the thing that they drink to survive is milk. And a lot of times you think how peaceful a baby is after it eats. And so researchers were interested to say, okay, are there proteins? Are there different compounds in milk that can cause the baby to feel relaxed, feel less stressed, so it's peaceful to sleep? And the researchers actually found that there was a milk protein from casein. Through hydrolysis process, it was found, called alpha casozapine. And it has been clinically shown to help reduce stress symptoms. So let's look at some of that research. So the first study we're looking at was in adults. And basically, they induced stress in this adult population, psychological, and they looked at physiological reaction, looking at blood pressure. And so you can see that just taking 150 milligrams of this casein hydrolysate every day for 30 days, it statistically reduced the systolic and the diastolic blood pressure after having been put in these stressful cognitive situations. And it was most pronounced in high responders, so people that got extra stress at the psychological stressful event. So another study with this same ingredient was a 30-day study where basically women that were showing signs of stress, so this was in a population that had some stress, they basically received a supplement for 3 weeks. They had a washout period. They received the placebo for 3 more weeks. And what they saw in this population that had some stress using questionnaires, that they had significant improvements in 5 different areas that you see stress impacting for digestion, cardiovascular health, intellectual ability, emotional, and social well-being. And so a number of areas of stress were positively impacted with this ingredient. Another study with casein hydrolysate actually looked at sleep. So this was in a population that had reported they had some stress at work, they were having some trouble sleeping. They took 150 milligrams of casein hydrolysate every day, and they filled out this PSQI, which is a standardized questionnaire to look at sleep, and they showed significant improvements in sleep quality over the course of this 4-week study when they took the supplement compared to placebo. And they started to see improvements even just at day 14 after 2 weeks of taking the supplement. So that was one ingredient that can help with stress. Another really great ingredient that can help you feel more calm, less stressed is L-theanine. So L-theanine is actually an amino acid that comes from tea, and it is this bioactive compound, and it has a number of different health benefits. It's an antioxidant, it helps reduce inflammation, it's neuroprotective. But what we're most interested in is that it helps with lowering stress levels and it helps you feel like you're in a better mood. And the main mode of action is through helping to generate this feeling of being less stressed through generating alpha brain waves. And so, what are alpha brain waves? So, basically, brain waves are patterns of electrical activity that can be measured with an EEG. And so, basically, what all these graphs on the right of the screen are showing are the different brain waves that you have throughout the day. So, if you're really focusing, you have a lot of those gamma waves you can see in the top. If you're sleeping really deep and you're dreaming, you can see the bottom, you're having the delta waves. What we're talking about L-theanine, it actually helps improve and increase the alpha waves. So this is when you're feeling reflective, you're rested, you're alert, you're creative. And I think all of us want to be restful and be more alert throughout the day. So we want an improvement in those alpha waves. And a clinical study in adults, these were healthy adults that were basically induced stress by giving them a challenging math test. And so in these individuals, they took placebo, a single dose, or L-theanine, 200 milligrams, and they showed a significant improvement increase in those alpha waves, those waves that you have when you're more relaxed and calm. And in the same study, L-theanine also significantly decreased saliva cortisol compared to placebo. So again, really great results in the study showing improvement in alpha waves and levels of cortisol. So L-theanine has also been studied and looked at in different areas of stress. Again, looking at blood pressure as a signal of that somebody is stressed. And in this particular study, it was healthy subjects again given 200 milligrams of L-theanine or placebo. And basically, they were induced stress by listening to loud sounds. They were challenged with having to do different math problems again. And basically, they saw that L-theanine reduced that rise in blood pressure in those subjects who did have a high stress response with those stressful situations. So they saw a reduction in systolic blood pressure. And in the same study, they also looked at PALMS, which is a standardized questionnaire that looks at profile of mood states. And one section of PALMS actually looks at tension and anxiety, and it showed a significant reduction in tension and anxiety compared to placebo when the L-theanine was taken. So two really great ingredients that help with feelings of less stress and feeling calm, just helping you be more resilient to the stress that you get throughout the day. One is casein hydrolysate, which is a milk protein. And again, it's been studied for the really great impact on physiological and psychological stress, as well as helping with sleep. And then you have L-theanine, which is this amino acid that helps reduce anxiety and helps reduce the cortisol levels. So I just want to highlight that, we were talking about feeling reductions in calmness, but when you feel less stress, you do sleep better. And so we talked about stress initially, and now we're going to talk about sleep. And I think it's so important to understand that all of these areas that we're talking about today, stress, sleep, memory, focus, they're all connected. If you have less stress, you tend to sleep better. If you sleep better, you're going to have less stress. You're more resilient to stress throughout the day. And so just going back to that concept of that foundation of brain health, it's just so important to have that strong foundation of all four of these areas. So now that we've talked about stress, now we're going to talk about sleep. So the purpose of sleep. So all of us have to sleep. It really is essential for survival. And, it's funny because we think that, during sleep, a lot of times you can't remember anything that happens during the night, but your brain is actually really active during sleep. And if you look at, what is it doing? It's helping with neuroplasticity. It's helping with memory consolidation. And there's this really cool thing that goes on where lymphatic clearance. So I think a lot of us on this call know that lymphatic system is actually able to get rid of the waste throughout our body. So the system in your brain that actually gets rid of the waste material that's developed throughout the day is your lymphatic system. And so your lymphatic system is actually not active or very active during the day, but when you're sleeping, that's when it actually clears out those metabolic waste. And so sleep is just really this amazing thing that, we need a lot of it. Unfortunately, most of us don't get the recommended 7 to 9 hours a night, but the recommended amount is 7 to 9 hours. And I think, all of us understand that we do feel better physically and mentally when we do get that recommended amount of sleep. And it's just so important for our overall health to get that. And so there are a number of ingredients that can help with sleep. One of these is magnesium. So magnesium is this essential mineral. We can find it in quite a few foods that we eat, like leafy greens and nuts. But it's really important because it's a cofactor for neurotransmitter synthesis. And so that's why it plays such a pivotal role in many different aspects of sleep regulation. So magnesium's been shown to help with sleep-wake cycles. It's been shown to help actually synthesize melatonin, that hormone that signals your body, hey, it's time to go to sleep. And magnesium's also been shown to have that calming and relaxing effect, which helps you get to sleep easier at night. And so this is a clinical study that actually gave supplemented magnesium at 500 milligrams a day or placebo for 8 weeks. And what was shown is that basically the sleep time and sleep efficiency was significantly increased with the magnesium supplementation compared to placebo. In the study, they also showed there was a significant increase in serum melatonin with magnesium supplementation. There was an increase in sleep onset latency, which means you can go to sleep faster. And they also showed decrease in that stress hormone cortisol. So this is just a really great study showing that supplemented magnesium really does help with sleep health. So another really great ingredient for sleep is saffron. So saffron is a spice. It's used in many Asian countries, and it's rich in different compounds like safranol, crocin, and picrocrocin. And there's a number of clinical studies with saffron that show that it positively impacts sleep and mood. And the likely effects that it's working through is that it does impact neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And it also helps with that natural production of melatonin and decreasing inflammation. So let's look at a couple studies with saffron extract. So this is a study that actually supplemented 14 milligrams of saffron extract every day or placebo 1 hour before bed to 80 adults. And this was a group that did have some sleep issues. And after just 28 days, they saw a significant increase in sleep quality. You can see those results in that top graph. And then there was also a significant increase in evening melatonin. So not only did you see an improvement in sleep quality with just saffron alone, you also saw a significant increase in melatonin levels in the saliva. And again, this saffron extract was well tolerated with no serious adverse effects compared to the placebo. Another clinical study in individuals that were adults, they did have some sleep issues. Both men and women, they received 15.5 milligrams every evening for 6 weeks. And they basically saw improvements in increased time in bed that was analyzed using like a sleep tracker that the individuals were wearing. They felt like it was easier to get to sleep when they took the saffron extract, and their sleep duration was significantly improved. And so you can see in the graph that just after 3 weeks, they see an improvement. And then after 6 weeks, there's an even greater improvement in the time in bed. And again, it was well tolerated and no serious adverse effects. So again, saffron is a really great ingredient for helping support those that sleep quality that we all want. So another ingredient for sleep is melatonin. So I've talked about how both magnesium and saffron help with those natural melatonin production in the body, but melatonin is another ingredient that can actually be supplemented. And this is a naturally occurring hormone that we produce in our brain. And basically in the evening, when we're being exposed to less light, our brain, we start producing more melatonin. And melatonin peaks at that time when you're typically going to bed. And melatonin helps regulate that circadian rhythm. It helps you say, okay, I am getting tired. I'm ready to go to bed. And supplemental melatonin has been clinically studied for its effects from, 0.5 milligram all the way up to 10 milligrams. And what the research shows is that high doses are not necessarily better. There's really no dose-related response to sleep improvement. So even just at 1 milligram, you can have really great benefits on sleep quality and helping improve that circadian rhythm. And so this is just a really nice meta-analysis that actually looked at 19 studies that had been done with melatonin compared to the placebo. And overall, what they saw in all of these studies when they did this meta-analysis is that melatonin helps decrease sleep onset latency. It basically increases or decreases that amount of time that it takes you to get to sleep, and increased your total sleep time, and it improved your overall sleep quality. The other thing in this particular study is that if you take melatonin over, a period of weeks and months, that it doesn't diminish the effects that you'll get in the benefits. And overall, melatonin was well tolerated. So this is actually a placebo-controlled study with melatonin in healthy men. And basically, they received placebo or 1 milligram of melatonin in the evening. And again, what they saw is that melatonin significantly improved that time to fall asleep. You fell asleep faster. It helped with sleep efficiencies, just sleep quality overall. And basically, it resulted in less waking up during the night, less intermittent wakefulness. So I think all of us want that. We want to go to sleep and really not wake up until the morning time and feel well rested in the morning. Melatonin helped do that, where you weren't waking up as often. So we actually did a clinical study on a sleep blend, and the sleep blend that we studied, our clinical study, had 225 milligrams of magnesium and 14 milligrams of saffron extract. And this was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. It was 4 weeks long, or 28 days. And this was in 40 healthy adults, but they did have self-reported sleep issues. And we had, again, individuals in the placebo group, and we had individuals in the sleep blend group. And after the study, after 4 weeks, we saw a significant improvement in how refreshed you feel as you wake up. So you can see at week 1, there's improvements, but there's even greater improvement in the sleep blend group at the 4-week mark. And also, just how do you feel as you wake up? Do you feel less drowsy? And we saw a significant reduction with the sleep blend in feeling less drowsy. And it wasn't a really great statistic that we got in this study, is that 89% of subjects that took the sleep blend reported feeling less drowsy when waking up. So pretty much all of the subjects were feeling less drowsy when they woke up at the end of the study. And we also looked at the reduction of time it took you to settle down and get to sleep. And again, we saw a significant improvement in the sleep blend group compared to the placebo. And 96% of the subjects in the study did report that they felt an improvement in sleep quality when taking the sleep blend. And when you look at the graph, you can see that after 1 week, basically the 33% related to about 22 minutes faster of falling asleep, and this increased to 29 minutes faster after 4 weeks. So really impressive results that are very meaningful for the subjects in the study when taking the sleep blend. So in this study, we were also interested in this holistic effect of looking at, okay, if you improve sleep, does that improve other aspects of your health, like your skin? And so we actually had a dermatologist actually grade the skin radiance. And we had them grade it at baseline after 1 week and then at week 4. And we saw an improvement in skin radiance after only 1 week, and then an even greater improvement in the sleep blend group after 4 weeks. And, the ingredients in there really did help with sleep, as we saw some of the other study outcomes. And these improvements in skin are most likely related to getting better sleep. It helps you feel more rested and more refreshed and have more radiant skin during the day. So we were really excited about these clinical results. So again, if we look at the sleep blend, there's some really great ingredients that can help support sleep. So there's magnesium. It can help with calming and provide those sleep benefits. You have saffron, which can help with just sleep and improvements in mood. And then you have melatonin that can really help with that onset of sleep and just help with that circadian rhythm. So now that we've talked about stress and sleep, now we're going to talk about another area of brain health, and that is memory and cognition. So throughout our life, unfortunately, we have changes in our memory, and there's a number of things that can negatively impact our memory. And unfortunately, some of these changes, such as chronic inflammation and oxidative stress, changes in the mitochondria, the energy powerhouses of your cell, these things can happen many years before you even realize that you're having issues with memory and concentration. The research shows that some of these changes can occur even 30 years before its effects and signs are realized. So it is so important to really have this protective effect from the lifestyle and from different ingredients that you can get, whether it's through foods or supplements. And so one of these really great ingredients that we found through our research is astaxanthin. So astaxanthin is actually a really unique carotenoid, and that unfortunately we just don't get enough of it in our diet. The most common way that we get astaxanthin in our daily diet would be through salmon. But as much as I like salmon, I'm not eating it every day, so I'm not getting that consistent intake of astaxanthin every day. Typically people are getting less than 1 milligram a day. And the amount that you need to really improve memory and concentration and have that neuroprotective effect is at least 9 milligrams or more. And what's really impressive about astaxanthin is that it can cross the blood-brain barrier. And that's what this picture is showing, is that basically it can cross that blood-brain barrier and get into the brain, where it can be working at the site of action, helping with different functions, mechanisms of action. And so some of the ways that astaxanthin has been shown to help with brain health and memory is that it helps with antioxidants. So it helps decrease oxidative stress in the brain. It helps with inflammatory balance. It decreases inflammation in the brain, so it has that neuroprotective effect. It helps with blood flow. And it's actually been shown to improve blood flow to the brain. And it also helps with mitochondrial support and helping with energy production. And we know that the brain is a very active tissue, whether it's during the day or at night. And our brain actually uses a lot of energy. So it's really important to support the mitochondria of our brain. And so if we look at some clinical studies with astaxanthin, this clinical study we're looking at was in individuals. They were healthy, but they did have some mild forgetfulness. Their mean age was 54. So basically they were having that typical memory loss that we get unfortunately, as we age. And these individuals actually took a placebo or 9 milligrams of astaxanthin for 12 weeks or 3 months, and different brain assessments were conducted. So in this study, they actually looked at a memory score that looked at both verbal and visual. And so they can see after 12 weeks that they saw a significant improvement in the composite memory score. And you can see if you look at the right where the standard scores, they basically went from below average to being average with the astaxanthin, showing that there was truly significant improvements that were meaningful for these individuals. And no adverse events were seen with the astaxanthin, so it was seen as being safe. So another great ingredient for supporting memory and cognitive health is grape, and specifically grape extract. And so grape extract is unique in that it contains a lot of different active flavonoids. One of these is proanthocyanins, and it has been studied for cognition, attention, and improvements in language and memory. And so the different mechanisms of action with the grape extract can be antioxidant protection, helping reduce the oxidative stress, helping with inflammatory balance, helping reduce inflammation in the body and the brain, and just overall having that neuroprotective effect in the body and the brain. And so a clinical study that was completed with the grape extract was a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled study. This was in 111 healthy older adults. So the mean age was actually 67, and these adults received either 250 milligrams of the grape extract or the placebo for 12 weeks. And basically in this study, they used an assessment that's called the R-bands. And basically what this is a series of 12 subtests that contribute to different cognitive indexes. It looks at things like constructional index, immediate memory, language, attention, and delayed memory. So let's look at some of those results. So in this study, they saw a significant improvement in immediate memory. And so the test they did here was basically you were asked to recall a list of 10 words and a story. And again, a significant improvement. Another test was looking at language, and they saw a significant improvement after 12 weeks with the language outcome. They also saw a significant improvement in attention, and how they did this was looking at basically repeating numbers or digits that were given in order and coding. So basically a matching game with shapes and numbers, a significant improvement after 12 weeks. There was also a significant improvement in delayed memory. So what delayed memory means is, and how they test it in these types of cognitive health studies, is they give you a list of words or a figure or a story, and then 30 minutes later, an hour later, they ask you questions. They ask you to recall that list or recall that story. And they saw significant improvement in delayed memory. So overall, the R-band score significantly improved for immediate memory, language, attention, and delayed memory with the grape extract. And again, the grape extract was seen to have really good safety and no issues in the subject. So another great ingredient and an essential vitamin is vitamin E, and it's so important for brain health, and that it's a fat-soluble nutrient. We know that natural vitamin E, such as alpha tocopherol, is utilized better in the body than like a synthetic vitamin E. And it is safe at levels of 15 milligrams. The upper limit is 1,000 milligrams. So it's a very safe ingredient to take. So vitamin E is, this fat-soluble nutrient that's important for many body functions, including the brain. But unfortunately, many of us just are not getting enough vitamin E from the diet. So almost 90% of adults in the US are deficient in vitamin E. We're just not getting it from the foods like vegetable oils and nuts and seeds. And it's just so important because it helps protect our body from oxidative stress that can be caused by free radicals. And so we did complete a clinical study on a memory blend. And the memory blend that we'll be talking about has astaxanthin at 9 milligrams, a whole grape extract at 250 milligrams, and vitamin E at 12 milligrams. So this clinical study was a double-blind placebo-controlled study. It was 12 weeks long. It was in healthy individuals that had self-reported memory complaints. So again, this was a healthy population, but they did say, yeah, I do have some memory issues, which again is typical with the mean age being around 55 years. And again, half were taking placebo during the study and half were taking the memory blend one time every day. And so in this study, we looked at episodic memory and we saw a significant improvement in the memory blend compared to placebo. And so how the researchers actually looked at episodic memory was basically testing using auditory verbal task. And this was where the subjects were asked to recall a list of words several times. And then they had to repeat with a second list of words. They also had to see significant improvements in delayed auditory verbal tasks. So basically, they had to recall that first list of words that they were asked to memorize after a 20-minute delay. And they also completed a computerized location learning test, which is basically where they had to recall where subjects were on a 5x5 grid on a computer several times during the study testing. So again, significant improvements in episodic memory. And what this really means for day to day, that's kind of the lab, that's how they tested it. But how I would explain this just to individuals is it's episodic memory. So let's say you did something fun with your friends last week. How well can you remember that specific thing you did? Did you go to dinner? What did you eat? What did you talk about? What did you wear? So just being able to remember the details is what episodic memory means. So we also saw significant improvements in everyday memory. And so with this questionnaire, it's all about asking about things that we experience every day. So, how often during the day, during the study at baseline and then in the study, did you forget when did that happen? Do you have trouble remembering what's that word? What were you talking about? Where are your keys? Do you have to ask people, can you repeat that? So in the study, we saw improvement of 42% improvement over baseline in everyday memory with the memory blend, which was significant compared to the placebo group. In the study, we also actually took blood samples where we looked at BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and we saw a significant increase in BDNF in the memory blend group compared to placebo. And so BDNF is really important, and it plays a really important role for learning and memory. It really is important for neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is all about those connections between neurons in our brain. And unfortunately, BDNF does decline as we age. And if you're sedentary, you're not active, and if you're just not eating that healthy diet. So we saw significant improvement in BDNF, and we also saw significant improvement in a biomarker of oxidative stress, or MDA. So we saw a significant reduction in MDA, which is, saying there's less oxidative stress when taking the memory blend compared to placebo. And in this study, we also did use the biophotonic scanner and look at the skin carotenoid scores over the course of the study. And we saw a significant increase in the skin carotenoid score. And so if you remember, the memory blend includes astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is a carotenoid, which again, it crosses that blood-brain barrier, but it also is important for skin health as well. So again, for the memory, there's a number of ingredients that can help support healthy cognitive health or memory, including astaxanthin, grape extract, and vitamin E. And each of these ingredients can help protect cells from oxidative stress. It helps just support overall memory and cognition. It can help with that neuroprotective effect. And again, it can also help with just mental fatigue from eye strain. So now we're actually going to move to the fourth area of brain health, and that will be focus and concentration. So if we think about, what impacts our ability to focus and concentrate, and I think each of us is different, but some of us, if we're feeling more stressed or we have anxiety, it takes a lot of power, brain power to worry. So that can cause your ability not to focus. Sometimes if you're hungry, or you're thirsty, it's really hard to have your brain do the type of work it needs to do if it doesn't have the right fuel. If you're not getting enough stress or sleep at night, that can also really impact your ability to focus and concentrate. So again, we've talked about stress and sleep with the other areas. And again, all of these areas are overlapping and that you really do have to help support these different areas of your health and well-being to have the best brain health that you can. And that definitely goes for focus and concentration. So there are some key ingredients that can help with focus and concentration that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about caffeine, choline, bacopa, and some B vitamins, B6 and vitamin B12. So caffeine. So, this is an ingredient that I think many of us are very familiar with, many of us consume. It is a mild stimulant to our central nervous system. Typically many people are getting it in coffee and tea and chocolate. And the half-life of it is quite quick, about 3 to 7 hours, which means from the time you take it in to how your body metabolizes, it's 3 to 7 hours. And basically 400 milligrams or less per day is considered safe for most adults. And I just always think it's so important with caffeine is that everybody metabolizes it a little bit differently. And so I think each of us knows how you handle caffeine and the best time to take it. Many people like to take it in the morning and not later in the day, so it doesn't impact their sleep. But some people metabolize it quickly and can take it even into the afternoon. So caffeine is really great in that it really supports that immediate boost in focus and concentration. Basically, after taking caffeine, you get that peak in the plasma concentration and your blood concentration about 1 hour. And so there's a number of actions that it has in the body, but the most common ones and how it has that feeling of increased concentration and focus is it increases dopamine and it can increase epinephrine, providing that immediate feeling of alertness. And so if we look at caffeine, there are some really great clinical studies looking at different doses of, just single doses of caffeine ranging from 32 up to 256 milligrams in the study were given to 20 healthy males. And basically this was a crossover study. So these individuals came to the lab 4 different times and got different amounts of caffeine. And basically caffeine was given 40 minutes before testing began. And the testing was actually testing reaction time for clicking the correct key based on the location of a certain stimuli that they saw on the screen. And so in the graph, you can see they saw a significant improvement in reaction time. So that's a faster reaction time with even just 32 milligrams, but they also saw it going up to 256 milligrams. So just showing even a lower level of caffeine can have really great effects on just the reaction time and your ability to focus and concentrate. So another ingredient that is really key for focus and concentration is choline. So choline is made by our body, but unfortunately not enough. So we really do have to get it through our diet, supplementation. The most common food that we get choline is eggs, but many of us aren't eating enough eggs and other foods that contain choline throughout the day to get that amount that we need every day, around 550 milligrams. And choline is so important for the brain because it's a precursor for acetylcholine, which is a really important neurotransmitter. And so there's some really great observational research showing that you do have higher cognitive performance when you have higher choline intake. And again, it's just important for that neurotransmitter acetylcholine, and that it's that chemical messenger that helps those neurons communicate with one another. So another really great ingredient for focus and concentration is bacopa. And so bacopa is really this plant that's found throughout the world. It's been used traditionally for many cognitive processes, and that it helps with oxidative stress and inflammation. And bacopa is really unique in that it does take longer for it to work. It takes 4 or more weeks of taking it consistently daily to have those significant improvements in concentration. So we have those ingredients like caffeine to help you get the initial boost. But then there's other ingredients like bacopa that if you take every day, you have improvements in focus and concentration. And bacopa is a really unique ingredient in that it's been studied in a wide range of populations. So the first study we're looking at is a double-blind placebo-controlled study in older individuals. So in this particular study, they were given 300 milligrams of bacopa extract or placebo every day for 12 weeks. And they basically looked at their ability to have continuity of attention. So basically, this was looked at where they would push the corresponding button for a digit or word that was on the screen. And they saw a significant improvement at 4 weeks, and it continued to increase even to the end of study of 12 weeks. Additionally, they did see an improvement in the increase of availability of acetylcholine is a potential mechanism, and again, no side effects were seen. So this was an older population, around 62 years of age, but there was also studies in 42 healthy medical students. So these are students that have a very high intellectual level. They also took bacopa extract at 300 milligrams a day or placebo for 6 weeks, and they were basically given a digit span backwards test. Which is a challenging mental task. And they saw a significant improvement at the end of study compared to baseline. So basically, they saw a significant improvement in efficiency of attention and working memory. And in this same study, they also saw a significant improvement in logical memory. So basically, they had a significant improvement in immediate recall. Of logical material and language, significantly improved in the bacopa extract compared to the placebo. So the other ingredients that are important for focus and concentration are these essential B vitamins. So you have vitamin B6. This is an ingredient that you can find in many different foods. It really is essential for over 100 enzymes in our body. And it's important for catalyzing and being part of the neurotransmitters being created like dopamine. So overall, it can just really help support general brain health. And vitamin B12, again, it's found in many of our animal-based foods. And again, deficiency is more common in older individuals due to your ability not to absorb B12 as well as we age. And it really is important for that proper nerve function and energy. And again, just supporting overall general brain health. So again, we've talked about a number of ingredients that can really help with focus and concentration. We talked about caffeine that really helps give you that immediate boost of focus and alertness. You have choline helping with acetylcholine production. Bacopa that can really help support concentration if you take it consistently over time. And then some of those essential B vitamins that can help with brain function. So I know that was a lot, but I hope that was helpful in just learning about overall brain health and just understanding, some of the research that we